Hello friends, I welcome you all to another edition of Daily News Analysis. So in this particular edition, we are going to discuss some very interesting and important articles. The first article is about Trump's Gaza Peace Summit, important update from the perspective of Israel-Hamas war and ceasefire, important from the perspective of GS2, international relations particularly. Another important article that is about natural farming in Himachal Pradesh, important from the perspective of GS3, agriculture part. Another important article is about Maitri II being greenlit. Important analysis again from the perspective of GS1 geography particularly, because this is India's expedition, the new station, research station in particular in Antarctica. Another important article is about India's 4G stack and whether it can compete with Chinese digital Silk Road. Important analysis again from the perspective of digital economy in GS3. In Decoded section, which is important from the perspective of particularly mains, we are going to discuss very interesting article titled Global Doors Measured Steps. So in recent times, we have seen, foreign law firms in particular being given a limited entry into India's jurisprudence. So what sort of impact it will have? Apart from that, what sort of ADR, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms are there in Indian judiciary, and what sort of impact they have? Important analysis again from the perspective of GS2 judiciary part. So stay tuned for that particular article as well. So the first important article is about Trump's Gaza Peace Summit. So in recent times, there are indications that the Israel-Hamas war is essentially ending with ceasefire. So as John Lennon rightly has said, give peace a chance. So is it the right time for giving peace a chance in this particular bloody war between Israel and Hamas? Rightly so, Trump does deserve credit when it comes to ending this particular war. So there are indications that India will send the minister to Egypt for Gaza summit as well. So essentially, Trump did send the invite for, this particular Gaza summit to India. Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, will not attend this particular summit, but our minister, one of the minister, will attend this particular summit that will be held with Egyptian president in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt particularly. So from the perspective of places in news also, Sharm el-Sheikh is very important place, particularly it is on the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. So remember this particular place in news, you may get a direct question when it comes to prelims in this particular part. So this particular update is very important because we hope that essentially this bloody war between Israel and Hamas will finally end, as the hostages will return, Israeli hostages in particular will return now with this particular ceasefire, and there will be Gaza reconstruction going forward as well. So we are going to see what sort of reconstruction plan and who will fund that particular reconstruction plan going forward. There are not many updates in that regard yet, but what certainly is sure that Trump is now firmly believe that he has essentially ended this particular war. So with latest update, India will send Minister for External Affairs Kirtivardan Singh to present country at the peace summit in Gaza, Sharm el-Sheikh, to be co-hosted by Egypt and United States today, essentially on Monday. So Prime Minister Mr. Modi was among more than 20 world leaders invited over the weekend to attend the summit, but due to the time paucity, he will not attend. But our Minister of State for External Affairs will attend that particular summit. This particular summit will be co-hosted by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi with US President Mr. Donald Trump to discuss the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, brokered mainly by negotiators from US, Egypt and Qatar. So recent times we have seen, the ceasefire being there through Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan particularly. However, given the short notice, Mr. Modi, our Prime Minister, will not attend. Among those who have confirmed their participation at this particular summit in Sharm el-Sheikh are UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Apart from that, leaders from France, Italy and Spain and UK will also attend this particular Gaza summit. A number of leaders from Europe, Gulf region and other parts of Asia are also expected to attend. Particularly Pakistani Prime Minister will also attend. So this also shows the deepening ties between US and Pakistan again in the second Trump administration. Although Hamas has declined to participate in this particular summit, there are recent news that PLO president will attend this particular summit. Obviously, the Israeli Prime Minister Mr. Netanyahu will not attend this particular summit. It is still unclear whether Israeli PM will attend. He will not attend according to the latest update. On Monday morning, Mr. Trump will be in Jerusalem to address the Israeli parliament, as he and Mr. Netanyahu will await the release of 20 Israeli hostages still alive and return of remaining bodies of those who have died since they were abducted by Hamas during the 2023 terrorist attack on Israel, in which almost 1,200 Israelis were killed by Hamas militants, or rather terrorists. So that was a very brutal terrorist attack that was done by the Hamas terrorists, and essentially that started this particular bloody war, which has recently completed 2 years, and at the completion of 2 years we have this ceasefire news, and subsequent to that, subsequent to say Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan, now there is a Gaza peace summit in Egypt. So another important point to know here is the India-Egypt strategic dialogue is and strategic partnership between the two countries is very strong. It is the right indication that the trajectory or bilateral trajectory between these two countries are on a right track. According to sources, Mr. Abdelati visit is part of CC Modi Strategic Partnership Agreement signed in January 2023, and this is his first visit to India since taking over in 2024. So essentially Mr. Abdelati is Egyptian foreign minister, and he will visit India in the upcoming week. So there has been frequent contact between, say, our external affairs minister Mr. S. Jaishankar with the Egyptian foreign affairs minister, particularly since Operation Sindoor in the month of May. Egypt had strongly condemned the Pahalgam terror attack as well. So this shows the depth of bilateral relation between the two countries. The Egyptian foreign minister's meeting is also expected to brief the government on the plans for the reconstruction of Gaza. As I earlier said, although Egypt is not a member of IMEC, India Middle East Economic Corridor, it has been keen to discuss alternative routes alignments through Sharm el-Sheikh with India as well, given the security issues at the Haifa fort in recent times. So Sharm el-Sheikh on Sinai Peninsula will give the IMEC a boost as well, although officially Egypt is not part of IMEC yet. So although there are some sort of indications that Sharm el-Sheikh will will give the alternative site for the Haifa port. So let's look at some historical background between the two countries. The ties are ancient. Essentially, there are contacts dating back to ancient civilizations through trade and cultural exchanges. Modern relations, particularly the Egyptian president and Indian Prime Minister Mr. Nehru at that point of time in 1960s were part of the non-aligned movement. So there is bilateral bonhomie between the two countries post India's independence as well. Political relationship, it is a very strategic partnership that India has with Egypt. High level visits have been there. For example, in January 2023, Egyptian president, the current Egyptian president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was the chief guest on India's Republic Day parade as well. So this is very high honor that India has given to the Egyptian president in 23 as well. Economic and trade relationship is also very strong. For example, there is a growing trade of around $7 to $8 billion as of 22-23 with India among Egypt's top 5 trading partners as well. Key sectors like petroleum, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, automobile and engineering goods are part of, say, trade relationship. Indian investments in Egyptian companies are also huge. Particularly, over 50 Indian companies operate in Egypt with investment exceeding almost $3 billion, especially in chemicals, energy and textiles as well. Egypt also exports to India. For example, when it comes to Egyptian exports, there is phosphates, cotton, particularly Egyptian cotton is very famous in that regard, and fertilizers also are major component of Egyptian exports to India. Defense and security cooperation is also strong. There are bilateral, naval visits, etc., bilateral military exercises as well. Cultural and educational ties is also very strong. For example, events like International Yoga Day was widely celebrated or is widely celebrated in Egypt as well. Egypt's Al-Azhar University has long welcomed Indian students for Islamic studies as well. So educational and cultural ties are also very strong. Multiple and global cooperation can be observed. For example, there is a close coordination between the two countries in forums like UN, NAM, NAM, particularly G77 and WTO as well. So both countries support reforms in global institutions. Particularly, they advocate for multipolarity and global South cooperation as well. Particularly, both welcome the UN reforms. See, another important place in news here is Sharm el-Sheikh. As I said, it is on the Sinai Peninsula. You can clearly see, the location on the map of Sharm el-Sheikh. Remember that this particular map is very, very important. See, Egypt is strategically located in northern Africa. Essentially, it is bounded by Libya, and then there is a Sudan as well. There is Red Sea, and then there is Mediterranean Sea, and also through Sinai Peninsula, it borders Israel as well, Gaza to certain extent as well. So, essentially remember, this particular Sinai Peninsula was captured by Israel in the earlier Israeli war, although in subsequent times there was the normalization treaty between Israel and Egypt, and Israel handed over the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. So, some sort of history you should know when it comes to Sinai Peninsula, because this particular resort, Sharm el-Sheikh resort, is on the southern end of Sinai Peninsula. Remember that. So, very important from the perspective of mapping. So, Sharm el-Sheikh is an Egyptian resort town with importance on several fronts. For example, tourism, diplomacy, environment, strategic geography and economic development as well. It lies at the southern tip of Sinai Peninsula on the Red Sea. It is the confluence of the Gulf of Suez and Gulf of Aqaba as well. Gulf of Suez and Gulf of Aqaba. It is one of the Egypt's premier tourist destinations, both for international and domestic tourists. The city has developed extensive infrastructure, hotels, resorts. Almost 200 international resorts can be found. Particularly, international airport is also there. Conference facilities are also very abundantly available as well. Tourism is a major source of foreign exchange, not just for this particular region, but overall also Egypt relies heavily on tourism sector and tourism revenue. The growth in tourist flow has helped drive improvements in transport, hospitality and services sector in Sharm el-Sheikh. So, it is often used as venue for international summits, peace and conferences, diplomatic meetings. Its reputation as city of peace has been cultivated as well. So, Sharm el-Sheikh is a hotbed when it comes to international summits. Particularly, it is often termed as city of peace, because many peace summit happens there. Because of its strategic maritime location, control of access through the Strait of Tiran has been a factor in past regional conflicts as well. The region has rich natural reserves and marine biodiversity is also there. There are efforts towards sustainability, for example, solar power installations, cleaner transport, electric buses in particular, and there are efforts when it comes to waste management improvements as well. So, Sharm el-Sheikh is a very famous popular tourist destination, tourist resort on Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Remember that. So, let's look at mapping corner as well. So, you must know the mapping part thoroughly here. See, let's look at the map of Egypt here. As I earlier said, it is bordered by two countries, Libya and there is Sudan. Most of the time, Egypt is known for the Nile River. So, you can see clearly the whole stretch of Egypt is sort of covered by Nile from say north to south, south to north particularly. Tropic of Cancer also passes through Egypt. Remember that. At the same time, you can clearly see Sinai Peninsula here, and then there is Suez Canal as well, Suez Canal, which connects the Mediterranean Sea with Red Sea. You can clearly see Gulf of Aqaba as well. So, very important from the perspective of mapping to remember all these minute details of map related to Egypt. So, the Gaza Peace Summit in question, the stated goal of this summit is to end the war in the Gaza Strip altogether. The substantive arrangements of the summit, which is historic summit aimed at ending the war itself, seeks to help restore regional stability and alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza, in line with say US President Trump's vision for the peace in the region. So, Trump wants to be known as the peace president. So, essentially the push by Mr. Trump now has resulted in the ceasefire and the return of hostages through this particular ceasefire. So, we hope that this barbaric war finally ends with this particular summit. Let's see what happens in that regard. So this is very important practice question for you. Just comment your answer in the comment section. The next important article that we are going to discuss is on natural farming. See, the natural farming gains traction in Himachal. Particularly Himachal Pradesh is known for the natural farming, particularly because of its flagship Prakritik Kheti Khushhal Kisan Yojana and its MSP policy. So there is this particular scheme that is being launched, that has been launched by the Himachal Pradesh state government, particularly to promote natural farming, obviously, Prakritik Kheti Khushhal Kisan Yojana. So amid a national push for natural farming, farmers in Himachal Pradesh are gradually adopting chemical-free agricultural practices. So essentially, what is the meaning of natural farming? So natural farming is a chemical-free farming. Particularly, there is no use of outside chemical pesticide or insecticide on the crops, and there is no disturbance when it comes to, say, soil. Essentially, it is zero tillage farming. So there is no tillage being done in natural farming particularly. So remember that. So this particular natural farming method has been developed by Mr. Subhash Palekar. We have all seen the updates regarding that, and there is very famous promotion of, say, ZBNF, zero budget natural farming, by the government as well in recent times. It has allocated, the central government has allocated the budgetary allocation to promote ZBNF in different regions of the country as well. So supported by state policies aligned with sustainable farming, the hill state Himachal Pradesh is witnessing a quiet transformation that seeks to balance farmers' welfare with environmental conservation. So environmental conservation, sustainable agriculture is the goal here. Natural farming has not only improved soil and plant health on the farm, but has also helped reap better yields and profits than the chemical based farming. So this is the experience of one of the farmer, particularly from the Himachal Pradesh. Although there are debates whether it gives better yield, say, when it compares to conventional farming, or it is just the hype. We are going to see there are no definitive proofs when it comes to the higher yield when it compares to conventional farming for the natural farming. So, but we are hopeful, we need to promote sustainable farming practices. So essentially, even if some people or some farmers rather adopt natural farming, organic farming, that also will create some sort of movement for or towards more sustainable agriculture. The state government has been promoting natural farming by introducing MSP as well for naturally grown crops such as maize. Particularly, there is wheat and raw turmeric as well under PK3Y. PK3Y, this Prakritik Kheti Khushhal Kisan Yojana, that is PK3Y. So state government's flagship PK3Y scheme, it was launched in 2018-19, almost 7 years back, by the government of Himachal Pradesh. For what? To promote sustainable agriculture using natural farming, also known as Subhash Palekar's natural farming, or particularly ZBNF. The goal is to reduce dependence on chemical fertilizers and pesticides, lower input cost. This is also very important goal of natural farming. Improve soil health, very important. Make agriculture climate resilient and provide farmers with environment friendly, low cost farming alternative and farming solutions. Organization structure and implementation, you can clearly see there is Apex committee by the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, and then there is state project implementation units, and there are district level units as well. Training and extension and awareness program have been carried out. There is financial and material assistance being given as well. For example, there are subsidy or assistance for lining, say, cattle sheds up to 8,000 per natural farming farmer, or provision of drums for input storage, or there is subsidy 50% for the purchase of indigenous desi cow as well. One time assistance of rupees 10,000 per family, per farmer family, for preparing and selling natural farming consultations or formulations has also been there. So financial and material assistance is also part of that particular scheme. So what is the result? So far 3.06 lakh farmers have been trained under this particular scheme. Very good number. 2.22 lakh farmers are practicing it partially or fully on almost 38,000 hectares across the state. So Himachal Pradesh is emerging as a leader when it comes to natural farming. Over 2 lakh farmers are certified under this particular scheme as well. Also, let's look at overall, the natural farming, what exactly the meaning of it is. So, it is sustainable eco-friendly agricultural approach that avoids the use of synthetic chemicals altogether. For example, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, nothing of that sort is used. Instead, relies on natural inputs and ecological balance to maintain soil fertility and plant health. So, the one of the stated objective is to have zero input costs, although there will be there is ecological balance when it comes to this particular farming. It balances soil fertility and plant health at the same time. Natural farming is a method of chemical free low cost farming. So, it is locally available biological inputs have been given to enhance the soil fertility, promote crop health and reduce external dependency overall. So, that this has been developed by Subhash Palekar particularly. Some of the key principles are no synthetic chemicals being used, use of natural inputs like cow dung, cow urine, jaggery or gram flour. Soil health restoration is the priority because it will encourage natural soil biology, microbial activity in soil, and earthworm population will also increase. Zero tillage and minimum disturbance, this is also very important point here. Mulching is another important aspect that has been promoted in natural farming, so that soil moisture is trapped in the soil itself, and it will also suppress the weeds as well. Crop diversity and intercropping is also promoted through natural farming, so that it promotes biodiversity and increase overall risk resilience of the crops. So, key inputs in Subhash Palekar's model, what are some of the key inputs? There is Jivamrit, Bijamrit, there is Agni Astra, and then there is Brahmastra. So, many times we have already discussed these particular things. So, Jivamrit, Bijamrit, Agni Astra and Brahmastra are some of the inputs. What exactly is Jivamrit? Liquid fertilizer. Bijamrit, seed treatment. Agni Astra, natural pesticides like cow urine, neem, tobacco and chili. Brahmastra, pest repellent made from various leaves and cow urine particularly. So, it is input cost is very low in this particular natural farming. What are some of the benefits? It is very cost effective because of low input cost. Environment friendly, very true. Improve soil health overall, safe food, safety of food is ensured. Resilience, it essentially improve the overall resilience to say droughts and floods. Farmer centric, it is pretty much farmer centric. There are certain challenges. Yield gap is observed. There are very much fluctuations in that regard, as I earlier said. Market access is an issue. Scalability is a problem, and awareness among farmers is also an issue. So, when it comes to natural farming in India, it has been promoted by the government of India through Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati under Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. Under PKVY, we are promoting natural farming. States like Andhra, Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra and Karnataka have adopted large-scale models of natural farming. Particularly ZBNF model of Andhra Pradesh is very famous in that regard. So, see, most of the time there is very much confusion between natural farming and organic farming. These are two very different farming methods. So, what exactly is the difference here? So, natural farming is a chemical-free farming based on nature on farm inputs. Farming, particularly when it comes to organic farming, uses certified organic inputs and practices without synthetic chemicals. So, essentially in natural farming, there are no external inputs being given to the crop, while in organic farming, even though no chemicals are being used, we can use or we may use certified organic inputs and practices, external organic inputs and practices to promote say yield as well. So, that is very primary and very important difference. So, when it comes to natural farming, it is based on minimum human interference, working with nature. Organic farming particularly follows predefined standards and protocol for our organic certification. So, organic certification has been well developed. Under that particular certification, there needs to be proper care when it comes to say tending to the crops. While when it comes to natural farming, it is pretty much a nature based or working with nature type of farming. Obviously, you can clearly see cost of cultivation near zero. It is called zero budget natural farming. Although in organic farming also the input costs are low, but it can change with requirement according to say the certification part. So, use of animal products, particularly heavy reliance on indigenous cow products, particularly urine and dung, is observed when it comes to natural farming. But when it comes to organic farming, animal products, there is it is used it uses compost, vermicompost manure may or may not require cows on the farm in that regard. So, it is not necessarily uh, needed when it comes to organic farming, uh, the cows, the requirement of cows. Self certification or community based not mandatory when it comes to natural farming, but in organic farming it requires third party organic certification for official organic status as well. You can clearly see other points of differences, just go through this particular chart. So, very important to understand how say natural farming is different from organic farming. So, very vital. So, what sort of schemes the government has come up with to promote ZBNF, zero budget natural farming? There is Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati under PKVY. Particularly, there is again PKVY, Paramparagaat Krishi Vikas Yojana is also there. National Mission on Natural Farming has also been launched. Particularly, another important mission is Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern region as well. That also promote ZBNF or natural farming in the Northeastern region. So, just go through these particular important schemes. This is very interesting and important practice question for you. Just comment your answer in the comment section. So, the third important article that we are going to discuss is about Maitri II. See, when it comes to Antarctica, now the decks have been cleared for the establishment of new research station Maitri II, which India set to chart new frontiers in Antarctic's icy wilderness. So, when it comes to Antarctic, let me give you some very interesting and important facts. See, most of the time you may not know about the first Indian ever to set foot on the Antarctic. So, I will tell you who is that first Indian that has set foot on the Antarctic, or for the first time the Indian person has expedited the Antarctic. So, essentially the person's name is Lieutenant Ramcharan, was the first Indian to go to Antarctic as part of Australian expedition way back in 1960. So, Lieutenant Ramcharan was the first Indian to go to Antarctica. Remember this particular fact. Many times we forget about our own heroes when it comes to Antarctic expedition. So, another important fact when it comes to Antarctic is how much ice it holds. Essentially, Antarctica contains almost 70% of Earth's fresh water and 90% of its ice. Remember that Antarctic, the southern polar region of Earth, contains 70% of overall Earth's fresh water and 90% of its ice. If all the ice were to melt on the Antarctic, the world, the global sea level will rise by almost 70 meters. So, this particular fact here is very scary. If all the ice on Antarctic melts, the global ocean level will rise by 70 meters. It is unfathomable. So, Antarctic is a very important and strategic region. That's why when it comes to research and development part, India already has many research station on Antarctic particularly. Now, there will be new research station Maitri II. There is Maitri I still operational. We will invest our money when it for development of another research station on the eastern part of Antarctic. So, India's next chapter in world's southernmost continent, Antarctica, is all set to unfold with Maitri II being approved. The country's newest research station proposed to come up in eastern Antarctic. Once built and readied by January 29, Maitri II will become India's fourth research base on the frozen continent. Goa-based Natural Center for Polar and Ocean Research, particularly under the Ministry of Earth Sciences, is the nodal agency responsible for operating and organizing missions to Antarctica and Arctic. The plan for Maitri II was first proposed in late 2023. The in-principle approval was granted on October 4 this year. Maitri II will be built in eastern Antarctica particularly, with financial outlay of about 2000 crore rupees for over 7 years. So, in upcoming 7 years, we will build this particular new Maitri II research station on the eastern Antarctic region. India's first research base in Antarctica, very important, that is Dakshin Gangotri, operated for few years. Currently, Maitri is operational since 1989, and then there is another, Bharti as well Bharti Research Station, which is operational since 2012 as well, which support India's scientific community in gathering data exclusive to the wilderness of Antarctica. So, what exactly is this research station are doing on, say, those Antarctic expedition? Because essentially they are actually studying overall, biodiversity of the region, the climate, and how it is changing. So that sort of observations are being done through these research station. Also, being there itself will hold very much important strategic value for India as well. Tentatively, the sea voyage between South Africa and Antarctica lasts anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the route. If weather permits, ship can reach Maitri in a week, but the journey to Bharti takes even longer. Summer and winter expeditions see participation by India's meteorologists, atmospheric scientists, geologists, glaciologists, botanists, zoologists, and seismologists as well. So essentially, Indian scientists, Indian science overall will flourish due to this particular news station. So essentially, when it comes to India and Antarctica, India has been involved in Antarctic research since 1980s. The continent spans almost 14 million square kilometer, with about 98% covered by ice sheet formed over 25 million years ago, holding nearly 75% of Earth's fresh water, almost 75% of Earth's fresh water, as I earlier said. As the fifth largest continent, Antarctica's unique wildlife with extreme weather conditions, cold, dry and windy, make it a prime destination for scientific research in unexplored terrain particularly. So, it is one of the last terrain where you will not find the human population. So, but there is very unique wildlife, particularly you must have seen emperor penguins, that those are also from the far end, the southern end of pole, southern pole particularly. So, when it comes to Maitri station, India's existing research base, Maitri is operational since 1989. It is located on the Sheer Mature Oasis. Remember this particular point. Maitri, currently operational since 1989, is on the Sheer Mature Oasis. It is almost 20 km long ice-free landmass in East Antarctica, surrounded by ice sheet and shelves. It is an inland station around 100 km from the shore and lies 50 meters from sea level. The station includes a main building, fuel farm station, a lake water pump house. There is summer camp as well. Smaller containerized modules are also you can find in Maitri. There is infrastructure and capacity. The current Maitri can accommodate almost 25 to 40 scientists based on mission and needs of the season. Originally built with design life of just 10 years. So, it has exceeded its design life itself. Why Maitri II is needed? That is also one of the reason, because it has exceeded its design life, because it is aging and facing waste management issues, prompting plans for a new and advanced facility. MOES secretary said that current Maitri will be retained as a summer camp, while Maitri II becomes a main research hub when it is ready. The government has given in principle approval now. So, what are some of the plans when it comes to Maitri II that has been given in, say, that Indian Express article? So, renewable energy and automation is the focus. Maitri II will be much larger facility with a green design featuring solar energy, wind energy. So, sustainability is the feature. Site selection and international collaboration is also there. In 2023 particularly, MOES delegation visited Antarctica to assess the current station and shortlist potential sites for Maitri II as well. German firm is being involved for, say, the construction of this particular new research station. It has been created with a detailed project report as well. Environmental assessment of the site has also been done. So, what are some of the challenges of building in Antarctica? Very obviously, there are natural challenges like extreme weather, fragile ecology, remote location and logistics part. All construction material must be prefabricated, then they can be shipped there for, say, the construction part. Detailed environment and terrain surveys have to be done. Shipping and seasonal constraints we can find. Construction can only occur during summer months in the southern hemisphere from October to March. So, only from October to March you can do the construction in Antarctica. So, these are some of the challenges. What are some of the construction timelines now? So, there is phase 1 and phase 2, you can clearly see with 18 months each. So essentially, what is the route that is being taken? So you can take the route from India, then around the Cape Town to say Indian barrier, then to the Maitri site itself, Maitri II site. Final construction will happen as well. So on-site assembly will be done, as I said. Maitri II represents a significant step in India's Antarctic presence, which focuses on green energy, automation, improved infrastructure, scientific advancement as well. So it will be much more, say, advanced facility, say, compared to our current Maitri station. So let's look at the mapping now of Antarctic. You may get a direct question when it comes to, say, places in news, the oceans, the names of the ice sheet of the Antarctic. Very, very important from the perspective of prelims. So you can see the Antarctic, the southern pole here clearly. So Dakshin Gangotri you can see is here, Dakshin Gangotri on the eastern Antarctic portion. Mainly, Atlantic Ocean you can observe, there is Indian Ocean, then there is Pacific Ocean. Ross ice shelf is also there. Then there is Ron ice shelf as well. Emery ice shelf is also there. Mary Byard land, there is Ellsworth land. Then there is Walker Wilkes land, East Antarctica you can clearly find. Then there is Davis, which is famous sort of research station of Australia you can see on the eastern Antarctic as well. Victoria land is also you can observe here. So, and there is Ross Sea, Amundsen Sea, Weddell Sea and Bellingshausen Sea. And see, essentially from the perspective of mapping, you must remember these very important names. So, this is from the above view, you can clearly see there is Falkland Island, there is Antarctic Circle particularly, Atlantic Ocean you can see, Madagascar is visible there as well, Tasmania, New Zealand you can clearly see as well. So, very important southern pole Antarctic region. So, from the perspective of particularly prelims, you may get a question directly when it comes to places in news or mapping part, remember that. So, as I earlier said, Antarctica holds very strategic importance because of its geopolitical significance. It is governed by Antarctic Treaty System, which preserves it for peaceful scientific research only. But many countries have strategic interest in its resources and territorial claims. It serves as the natural ground in international relations and a platform for scientific diplomacy. You will find many research stations when it comes to Antarctica. Natural resources in particular are tremendous. Antarctica holds vast untapped reserve of fresh water, minerals, hydrocarbons and potential fisheries. Although mining is currently banned under the Madrid Protocol, future resource access could be strategically vital. Scientific research and climate monitoring is also very, very strategic goal when it comes to Antarctica. Military and strategic presence, for example, while military activity is prohibited, presence in Antarctica is strategically important for countries to assert influence and participate in global decision making when it comes to Antarctica. Control over southern ocean and sea routes and technological logistical advances for that matter. So, these are some of the important strategic importance of say the Antarctic region. So, remember some of these points, you can get direct question when it comes to mains as well. So, this is very interesting and important practice question for you from the perspective of prelims. This particular article is very, very important. New research station Maitri II being constructed in Antarctica now. So, just comment your answer in the comment section for this particular question. So, next important article is about India's 4G stack. So, India's 4G stack export ambition, is it counter to Chinese digital Silk Road? Can it compete with Chinese digital Silk Road? So, what has happened now during his inaugural speech at the 9th edition of say India Mobile Congress in 2025, Prime Minister Modi said that India's 4G stack, it would not only offer seamless connectivity, high speed internet and reliable services to citizens, especially in remote areas, but it will also has export potential of technology abroad as well. So, Modi is pitching for exporting India's 4G stack. India's ambition of exporting its recently unveiled 4G stack, which includes telecom hardware and software, will pit it squarely against China, which has for several years now managed to get a significant foothold when it comes to telecom infrastructure in other countries. For example, there is Huawei and ZTE in that regard are very famous. Along with 4G stack, New Delhi has also prepared its digital public infrastructure and hopes to export it to developing countries as well. And many developing countries have shown the interest. For example, India's own UPI has been adopted by many developing countries. Even France has shown the interest. Called the India Stack, moniker for a set of digital codes and digital public goods that aim to unlock the economic primitives of identity, data and payments at the population scale. So, it is part of say digital stack, India Digi Stack. Before that, let's look at what exactly is this 4G stack. So, India's state-run BSNL, Tejas Networks, TCS and Center for Development and Telematics unveiled India's first indigenously developed 4G technology stack earlier this month. What are some of the key features? So, it is first and foremost a domestic integration and local capability, radio access network from Tejas, core network from CDOT, and with domestic integration reduces dependency on foreign vendors and built local capability. So, essentially it will be built not just software but hardware capability as well. Scalability and 5G migration enables rapid upgrades, scalability and provides easier migration path to the 5G. 5G ready architecture, sites and architecture are designed as 5G ready, allowing future upgrades without replacing large infrastructure. And then there is a nationwide execution by TCS. So, TCS is involved in say promotion of 4G stack. With the launch of the 4G stack, India becomes part of an exclusive group of 5 nations, Denmark, Sweden, South Korea and China, who are capable of manufacturing and deploying their own telecom equipment to deliver 4G services. So, 4G stack will revolutionize India's overall telecom sector. But can it be a counter to say Chinese digital Silk Road? For years, Chinese telecom companies, particularly Huawei and ZTE, has dominated this particular sphere. It has offered say infrastructure to several developing countries at cheaper rates say than their western counterparts, and backed by easy Chinese loans to fund these particular huge projects. This has resulted in giving Beijing-based telecom companies a strong foothold in say several developing countries, particularly in Africa. They have gained huge foothold. As per Delhi-based think tank, Chinese digital Silk Road is a part of Belt and Road initiatives. So, essentially Chinese digital Silk Road is part of Chinese ambitious BRI project that finances and supports digital connectivity infrastructure that essentially supports Chinese technology companies and goods and services. So, essentially it is sort of a self-serving sort of thing where China is promoting this telecom infrastructure through its own companies for in say developing countries like particularly Africa. They have gained strong foothold. This includes provision of cellular network as well as application and mobile payment platforms to facilitate Chinese trade with developing countries. The initiative is backed by policy banks and receives political support from the government, particularly the Chinese government. So, India stack will compete. These are very initial days of say 4G stack. We are going to see whether it can strongly compete with digital Silk Road of China, but we are hopeful. But overall, India stack, 4G stack is part of say India stack. It is a comprehensive set of digital infrastructure and open APIs developed by the government of India. Very true. There are many layers. For example, first and foremost, there is Aadhaar, identity layer. Then there is a payments layer, UPI and digital payments, particularly digital public infrastructure is also part of India stack. UPI, Bheem, RuPay, AEPS, Aadhaar enabled payment services. Essentially, cashless, real-time, low-cost payments ecosystem. There is data empowerment layer through account aggregated frameworks, allows individual to own and control their own financial data, enables content-based data sharing between users and service providers. Paperless layer, for example, e-sign, DigiLocker and eKYC is there as well. So, under India stack, you will find DigiLocker as well, e-sign, eKYC. Platforms built on India stack particularly. ONDC is very famous in that regard. CoWIN is also built on India stack. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission is also part of India stack overall, and JAM Trinity itself, that is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile. These are all foundations for overall financial inclusion project. So, India stack has revolutionized overall, digital infrastructure when it comes to India. So, this is very important practice question for you. Just comment your answer in the comment section. In Decoded section, which is important from the perspective of mains particularly, we are going to take a look at very interesting and important article titled Global Doors Measured Steps. So, in recent times, we have seen the limited entry given to say the foreign law firms to set the shop in India. see why this particular article has been featured now, because the India Alternative Dispute Resolution Week is being observed now, and it has been reflected a change that was unimaginable just a decades ago. Just a decades ago, even the entry or even the slightest bit of say entry of foreign law firms is banned. But now there is movement towards limited entry. The India Alternative Dispute Resolution Week, organized by Mumbai Center for International Arbitration in Bengaluru, Mumbai and Delhi last month, reflects a change unimaginable just a decade ago. No one expected that top litigation and arbitration counsel from across the globe would flock to India in such a short span of time, that they would trade best practices with Indian bar and bench in a manner hitherto seen in New York, London or even Singapore. So, this particular Alternative Dispute Resolution Week has shown the potential. Until recently, the idea of India serving as a hub for resolving international commercial disputes seemed very much far-fetched. Yet, in a notable shift, the Supreme Court of India, long recognized for its judicial activism and focus on protecting citizens' fundamental constitutional rights, has now actively supported efforts to position India as a center for what? High value commercial dispute resolution, both in domestic and cross-border investment cases. So, Supreme Court is supporting the positioning of India as a high value commercial dispute resolution hub. Apart from that, there are movement towards promoting India as a domestic and cross-border investment cases and promotion of say. So, let us look at India's alternative dispute resolution mechanism before going further in the article. So, what exactly is this ADR mechanism? It refers to method of resolving disputes outside traditional courts. What it aimed at is ensuring faster, cost-effective and amicable solutions. Essentially, Indian judiciary has been clogged with cases. So, EDR to certain extent will give the effective solution to actually reduce the pendency of cases as well. So, first and foremost, there is important mechanism called arbitration. So, arbitration, a private and binding process where disputes are resolved by an arbitrator or tribunal instead of a court, governed by the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996, which has been recently amended in 2021 as well. Supreme Court of India actively supports arbitration to make India a global hub of commercial dispute resolution. Institutions like Mumbai Center for International Arbitration is there, Delhi International Arbitration Center is also there. Conciliation is another EDR method, a non-binding process where a neutral conciliator helps parties reach a mutual agreement, governed by Part 2 of Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996. There is mediation as well, voluntary, confidential and informal process where a mediator facilitates dialogue between the disputing parties. The Mediation Act of 2023 gives statutory backing to the mediation, promoting institutional mediation and online mediation, also used essentially widely in family, commercial and civil disputes. Lok Adalat is also very important aspect of ADR. So, essentially People's Court, established under Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987, resolve disputes through say conciliation and compromise, often in pre-litigation stages itself. Decisions, awards have the same effect as civil court decree and are binding. Remember that. Another important ADR is negotiation, and online dispute resolution is also there. Online dispute resolution is particularly growing rapidly in e-commerce, banking and consumer disputes. So, India's overall ADR framework reflects a shift from adversarial court system to a collaborative, efficient, modern dispute resolution culture. Recent reforms and legislation along with judicial support aim to make India a global hub for commercial dispute resolution as well. It will strengthen the investor confidence in the process. So, foreign law firms in India. International interest in India's legal sector began way back in 1990, soon after the economic liberalization. But there are very important, judicial pronouncements about say entry of foreign law firms. A series of court rulings on this issue has shaped this particular domain. In 2009 particularly, there was a very famous Bombay High Court judgment in lawyers collective case, which essentially barred foreign firms from practicing in India. Then there is 2012 Madras High Court A.K. Balaji case, which reinforced this particular stance of say Bombay High Court. But there is little bit catch here. It allowed limited temporary advisory work for foreign law firms. Then there is very revolutionary 2018 Supreme Court judgment which upheld this view of Madras High Court, permitting fly in and fly out consultations but prohibiting permanent offices, effectively deterring foreign law firms from entering the market in India itself. Critics labeled this a protectionist stance, but the intent was to allow time for domestic firms to mature so that they can compete with, say, highly proficient foreign law firms. The concern was not a competence of Indian lawyers. Many had achieved global recognition, but the fear that large resource-rich foreign law firms could overwhelm local players before they were ready. So, this is very cautious stance being taken by the Supreme Court through its judgment in 2018. A changed picture now. Indian law firms have undergone a major transformation from small setups with 15 to 20 lawyers. Many now have over 1,000 professionals with significant international exposure as well. So, Indian law firms have been exposed to say foreign arbitration. Their expertise and scale have enabled them to compete globally with confidence. The self-sustained progress reflects the maturity and resilience of the India's legal ecosystem. Building on this momentum, recently the Bar Council of India 2025 rules for the registration and regulation of foreign lawyers and law firms mark a formal step towards globalization of Indian legal sector. So, Bar Council has published a rule for registration and regulation of foreign lawyers and law firms in India. This itself shows us, say, Indian law communities, say, openness for allowing the foreign law firms in India. Following its 2023 signal of openness to foreign participation, these new rules provides a structured framework to integrate the foreign practitioners in India's evolving legal landscape. So, the article here argues for Aristotle's golden mean. So, what exactly is this Aristotle's golden mean here? While they may feel like a red tape, they ensure foreign expertise complements rather than eclipse the domestic profession. This particular point here is about Supreme Court observation on, say, flying off the work for, say, foreign law firms. Concerned about such requirements, deterring entrants remain, and indeed it is better to air these now than after the floodgates open. Put simply, the idea is that foreign firms can advise on their home country law, international law, and appear in international arbitration seated in India. What they cannot do is equally crucial. They are not permitted to practice Indian law or appear in Indian courts unless enrolled. Reciprocity remains the lodestar of the new framework. Far from the bland compromise, this is Aristotle's golden mean, neither reckless liberalization nor defensive insularity. So, this is sort of finding that Aristotle's golden mean, where foreign law firms have not given complete, say, authority when it comes to Indian legal jurisprudence, although there are some little bit openings when it comes to entry of foreign law firms and their work in, say, international arbitration and reciprocity part involved. So, in conclusion, we can say, as Rabindranath Tagore once said, everything comes to us that belongs to us if we create the capacity to receive it. So, first we need to create the capacity so that our own law firms can compete with the foreign law firms effectively. India slowly and deliberately is creating that particular capacity. As that capacity builds, so will the consequences. As Abraham Lincoln put it, I walk slowly, but I never walk backward. So, we cannot walk backward now. That has been India's legal journey, cautious, deliberate, but steadily moving forward. The Indian legal profession and domestic law firms are set to become world players, a testament to which was played out throughout September through this particular alternative dispute resolution week. So, this is very important practice question for you. That's it from my side, and stay tuned for another edition of Daily News Analysis. Thank you.